DreamWorks movies look cute until you realize how many villains live rent-free in our heads. I rewatched every DreamWorks movie, questioning my sanity, and in today's video, we'll look at every single villain from the worst to the GOAT. F tier, trash. Turbo. Starting off with Turbo, a villain that already feels like a stretch. The guy isn't evil, intimidating, or even particularly smart. He's just loud, insecure, and desperate for attention. His entire motivation boils down to one thing: validation. He wants fans, applause, and people chanting his name, and when he doesn't get that, he throws a tantrum like a sore loser in a go-kart. That's it. No deeper backstory, no tragic fall, no twisted ideology, just ego. What really hurts Turbo as a villain is that he's supposed to be a twist villain. The movie sets him up as this racing legend that the main character idolizes, and then, surprise, he's actually selfish. And that's a twist. Not evil, not threatening, just selfish. Maybe that would shock a toddler, but anyone older than that saw it coming from a mile away. He's also never scary, never clever, and never in control. Even when he's winning, he feels annoying rather than dangerous. In a movie about underdogs and speed, Turbo somehow manages to be the slowest thing on screen, emotionally, narratively, and villain-wise. He's not memorable, not impactful, and definitely not ranking high anywhere except the trash tier. Professor Poopy Pants, Captain Underpants. Up next, we've got Professor Poopy Pants. He might have one of the most iconic joke names in animation, but that's pretty much where his impact begins and ends. Yes, he's funny. Yes, kids laugh every time his name is said, but as a villain, there's just nothing there. He doesn't feel threatening, he doesn't feel clever, and he never feels like a real obstacle. He's basically a walking punchline wearing a lab coat. His motivation is extremely petty, even by villain standards. He's mad because people laughed at his name, and instead of changing it or moving on, he decides to conquer the world with toilets. That's the plan. Toilets. It fits the movie's humor, sure, but it completely kills any sense of danger or stakes. You never once believed he would win or seriously harm anyone. The biggest issue is that Professor Poopy Pants is overshadowed by the movie's jokes, pacing, and main characters. He exists to be laughed at, not feared or even respected. Every time he's on screen, you're waiting for the next gag, not wondering what he'll do next. He works as comic relief, but as a villain, he's forgettable, harmless, and easily defeated. Funny? Absolutely. Menacing? Not even close. Captain Chantal Dubois, Madagascar 3. Then there's Captain Dubois, a villain who's loud, dramatic, and undeniably memorable. But here's the problem. She's more of a cartoon gimmick than an actual villain. She's basically introduced as this unstoppable hunter who lives to capture animals, especially Alex the lion. And at first, that sounds threatening, but very quickly, she turns into an exaggerated action parody rather than a real antagonist. Her personality is dialed up to 11, she sings while fighting, survives absurd injuries, and treats chasing animals like it's her personal Olympic sport. It's entertaining, sure, but it removes all tension. You're never scared of her, you're just waiting to see what ridiculous thing she does next. She feels invincible, not because she's smart or strategic, but because the movie bends reality around her. Another issue is motivation. She doesn't have one beyond "I like hunting animals." No emotional depth, no moral conflict, no personal stakes. She's relentless, but hollow. Once the chase stops, there's nothing left to explore. Dubois is fun to watch, and she absolutely fits the chaotic tone of Madagascar 3. But as a villain, she lacks weight, danger, and lasting impact, earning her a solid spot in the trash tier. D tier. Weak. Prince Charming, Shrek the Third. Prince Charming. He somehow manages to be the main villain of Shrek the Third, while feeling like the least threatening presence in the entire movie. This is the same guy who already failed miserably in Shrek 2, and instead of learning from that, he comes back louder, whinier, and somehow more entitled. His whole personality is built around one idea: I deserve the throne because the script says so. And that's it. He doesn't earn power, he doesn't outsmart anyone, and he definitely doesn't intimidate anyone. Most of his screen time is spent throwing tantrums, giving dramatic monologues, and whining about how unfair life is. He feels less like a villain and more like a theater kid who didn't get the lead role. Even when he assembles a team of other fairy tale villains, he still never feels in control. The biggest issue is that he lacks presence. You never feel like Shrek or the kingdom is truly in danger. The movie treats him more like a joke than a threat, which completely kills the stakes. He has ambition, but no substance, confidence without competence. As a result, Prince Charming ends up being forgettable, weak, and painfully underwhelming as a main antagonist. Galakshar, monsters versus aliens. He is one of those villains who talks a big game but never really backs it up. On paper, he should work. An alien invader with advanced technology, an army of clones, and a plan to conquer Earth. But in execution, he's mostly just annoying. His personality is built entirely around arrogance, and while that can be fun, it quickly becomes repetitive. He constantly underestimates everyone around him, brags about his intelligence, and monologues like he's desperate for someone to applaud. The problem is that the movie never lets him feel genuinely dangerous. His plans fail constantly, his clones get taken out easily, and he's more reactive than proactive. For a supposed galactic conqueror, he spends most of the movie getting embarrassed. Another issue is that Galakshar lacks any emotional connection to the heroes. He doesn't challenge them personally, mentally, or emotionally. He's an external obstacle. Once he's defeated, nothing about the characters really changes because of him. He's not terrible, he serves the plot and fits the film's comedic tone, but he's forgettable. Galakshar is a serviceable villain with a big ego and little impact, which lands him comfortably in the weak tier. General Mandible, Ants. Next up is General Mandible. He is actually one of the more interesting villain concepts, but the execution holds him back. His motivation is clear and logical. He believes the colony is weak and needs radical restructuring to survive. Unlike many DreamWorks villains, he isn't driven by ego or fame, he's driven by ideology. And that's a solid foundation. The problem is emotional connection. Mandible never feels personal. His conflict with the main character, Z, is more symbolic than emotional. There's no deep rivalry, no personal betrayal, no moment that really makes you feel his menace. He's cold, calculated, and distant, which works for his character but makes him less engaging as a villain. He's also overshadowed by the movie's humor and Z's internal journey. While Mandible's plan is extreme and dangerous, the movie doesn't linger on the consequences enough to make him truly frightening. You understand why he's doing what he's doing, but you're never fully invested in stopping him. In the end, Mandible is smart and motivated, but emotionally flat, keeping him in the D tier rather than higher. C tier, average. Rumpelstiltskin, Shrek Forever After. Moving on, we have Rumpelstiltskin. He is actually a pretty solid idea for a Shrek villain. He's sneaky, manipulative, and thrives on loopholes and technicalities rather than brute force. Instead of fighting Shrek head-on, he outsmarts him, tricking him into signing a deal that literally rewrites reality. That alone already makes him more interesting than most mid-tier villains. The problem is consistency. Sometimes Rumpel is portrayed as this genius mastermind who's always 5 steps ahead, and other times he feels incompetent and easily rattled. His personality swings wildly between intimidating and cartoonishly annoying, which makes it hard to take him seriously for long stretches of the movie. One scene, he's a threatening dictator, the next, he's throwing a meltdown like a child who lost a toy. He also lacks emotional depth. His motivation, wanting to be taken seriously and gain power, is understandable, but it never fully lands. We're told he's been underestimated his whole life, but the movie doesn't explore that enough to make him truly compelling. Rumpelstiltskin is clever, entertaining, and memorable, but his uneven portrayal holds him back. He's good, just not great. The Red Death, How to Train Your Dragon. The Red Death. He is undeniably dangerous. It's huge, terrifying, and serves as a real physical threat to both dragons and humans. From a visual and action standpoint, it absolutely works. When it shows up, you immediately understand that this thing is on a completely different level. But that's also where the character ends. The Red Death isn't really a villain in the traditional sense, it's more of a natural disaster. It doesn't speak, doesn't think on screen, and doesn't have a personality. It exists purely to be defeated. There's no ideology, no motive beyond survival and control, and no emotional connection to the hero. That lack of personality makes the final battle exciting but emotionally shallow. It works for the story, but it limits how memorable the villain can be. The Red Death is effective as a threat and a climax, but as a character, it's flat, powerful, intimidating, but ultimately forgettable. Grimmel the Grizzly. How to Train Your Dragon. The Hidden World. Then there's Grimmel. He is meant to be Hiccup's dark mirror, a human who understands dragons just as well, but uses that knowledge to wipe them out. Conceptually, that's a great idea. He's intelligent, patient, and genuinely dangerous in how calculated he is. Unlike many villains, he doesn't rely on armies or brute force. He relies on strategy. The issue is that Grimmel never fully steps out of the shadow of earlier villains, especially Drago. Drago had raw power and presence, while Grimmel feels quieter and less impactful. His calm demeanor is interesting, but it also makes him less memorable. He rarely delivers moments that truly shock or emotionally hit. Another problem is limited screen time. When he starts to feel threatening, the movie shifts focus back to the dragons and the emotional goodbye, leaving Grimmel feeling underdeveloped. Grimmel is smart and thematically strong, but he lacks the intensity and lasting impact needed to rank higher. Solid villain, just not a standout. B tier, good, Tai Lung, Kung Fu Panda. From here on, the villains start getting serious, and Tai Lung is where that shift really begins. He is the definition of a villain who feels dangerous the moment he appears on screen. Physically, he's unstoppable. The prison escape alone immediately establishes him as a serious threat. No jokes, no luck, just pure skill and rage. What truly makes Tai Lung stand out is that his anger stems from a profound sense of emotional betrayal. He wasn't born evil. He trained, sacrificed, and genuinely believed he was destined to be the Dragon Warrior. When that destiny was taken from him, it shattered his identity. Shifu's failure as a father figure plays a huge role here, making Tai Lung's descent feel tragic rather than random. You understand why he's furious even if you don't agree with what he becomes. However, Tai Lung is still a fairly straightforward villain. Once his goal is clear, take the Dragon Scroll. There aren't many twists beyond that. He doesn't evolve much after escaping prison, and his ideology doesn't really change. Still, his presence, combat ability, and emotional foundation make him one of DreamWorks' strongest antagonists. He's terrifying, memorable, and impactful, just not complex enough to break into the top tier. Big Jack Horner, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Things take a darker turn with Big Jack Horner. He is proof that a villain doesn't need a tragic backstory to be amazing. He's evil because he likes being evil, and that alone makes him stand out. No redemption arc, no sad childhood, no excuses. He's greedy, cruel, and completely self-aware, and the movie fully commits to that. Every scene he's in is chaotic. He kills without hesitation, uses magic items like toys, and treats everyone around him as disposable. What makes him especially effective is how unpredictable he is. You never know what he's going to do next, which keeps the tension high, even in a movie filled with comedy. That said, he's not emotionally deep. He doesn't challenge the hero on a philosophical level the way Death does in the same film. He's more of a force of chaos and a thematic rival, and because of that, he doesn't quite reach the highest tier. Still, Big Jack Horner is incredibly entertaining and refreshingly unapologetic. He's loud, ruthless, and instantly iconic, easily one of DreamWorks' most memorable modern villains. Lord Farquaad, Shrek. He might not be physically intimidating, but his presence is undeniable. He's cruel, power-hungry, and obsessed with perfection, ruling his kingdom with zero empathy and maximum ego. Banishing fairy tale creatures just to create a perfect society instantly establishes him as a villain you love to hate. What makes Farquaad work so well is how realistic his cruelty feels. He abuses power, humiliates others, and treats people as tools rather than individuals. His obsession with becoming king and choosing a bride like it's a game show perfectly mocks authoritarian rulers and shallow leadership. He's also one of the funniest villains DreamWorks has ever created. Every scene balances humor with genuine malice, which makes him incredibly memorable. Even years later, he's still quoted, referenced, and instantly recognizable. While he's not complex or emotionally layered, his impact on Shrek and pop culture is massive. Farquaad set the standard for DreamWorks villains, and that legacy alone earns him a solid spot in the B tier. A tier, great. Drago Bloodfist, How to Train Your Dragon 2. Next up, we got Drago Bloodfist. He is the kind of villain who doesn't need flashy dialogue to feel terrifying. His presence alone carries weight. From the moment he's introduced, you understand that this man is built by war. He doesn't seek power for glory, he seeks control because he believes the world only respects strength. Drago's effectiveness lies in how believable his cruelty is. He's not insane or chaotic, he's calculated and disciplined. His ability to dominate dragons, especially through the Bewilder Beast, instantly raises the stakes. For the first time, Hiccup's ideology of peace is directly challenged by someone who believes peace is a lie. Drago also causes real consequences. Stoic's death isn't just shocking, it permanently changes the story and Hiccup as a character. Very few DreamWorks villains are responsible for something that impactful. That said, Drago's emotional depth is limited. We're told about his tragic past, but it's never fully explored. He works more as a symbol of tyranny than a fully realized character. Still, his intimidation factor, thematic opposition, and lasting impact easily earn him a spot in A tier. General Kai, Kung Fu Panda 3. Then we step into legend territory with General Kai. He feels like a villain ripped straight out of Legend, and that's exactly what the movie wants. He's ancient, powerful, and fueled by resentment that's been building for centuries. Unlike many villains, Kai has a personal history with Oogway, which immediately makes his threat feel meaningful. His jade-stealing ability is visually striking and symbolically strong. It represents his desire to control not just bodies, but spirits. Kai isn't fighting Po. He's challenging the entire legacy of Kung Fu. His musical theme and dramatic entrances make him feel larger than life. However, Kai slightly suffers from tonal inconsistency. At times, he's intimidating and mythic. At other times, he leans too hard into humor, which softens his menace. His motivation, feeling betrayed and forgotten, is understandable, but not deeply explored. Even with those flaws, Kai's power level, mythology, and connection to the franchise's lore make him stand out. He's a villain who feels important, ancient, and dangerous, easily deserving of an A-tier ranking. Pitch Black, Rise of the Guardians. He is one of DreamWorks' most underrated villains. Instead of fists or armies, he attacks through fear, manipulating the mind rather than the body. That alone makes him stand out. His presence is unsettling, quiet, and calculated. Every word he speaks is designed to get inside your head. What really makes Pitch stand out is the deeply personal nature of his conflict with the Guardians. He doesn't just want to win, he wants to break belief itself. By targeting children's fears and dreams, he threatens the very foundation of the Guardians' power. That's a brilliant thematic setup. His shadow-based abilities and eerie design reinforce his role as a psychological antagonist. He's not loud or explosive, he's patient, mocking, and cruel in a subtle way. When he succeeds, it feels disturbing rather than flashy. The only thing holding Pitch back is limited screen time. The movie hints at a deeper backstory but never fully explores it. Still, his concept, execution, and chilling presence make him one of DreamWorks' smartest villains. Fairy Godmother, Shrek 2. Next we got the Fairy Godmother. She is the perfect example of how charm can hide cruelty. On the surface, she's elegant, polite, and glamorous, but underneath, she's ruthless and controlling. She doesn't want power. She wants to engineer destiny to benefit herself and her son. What makes her iconic is how she manipulates everyone while pretending to help them. She twists fairy tale logic, abuses magic contracts, and gaslights characters into believing they're the problem. And let's be real, her musical number is legendary. Holding Out for a Hero isn't just a song, it's a villain statement. She's also one of the few DreamWorks villains who actively controls the plot. Every major obstacle in Shrek 2 traces back to her influence. Unlike brute force villains, she wins through planning, image, and social power. Her defeat is satisfying, but her presence lingers long after. Stylish, smart, and unforgettable, the Fairy Godmother absolutely earns her place near the top. S tier, GOAT, Eris, Sinbad, Legend of the Seven Seas. Then there is Eris. She isn't just a villain, she's a force of nature. As a literal goddess of chaos, she operates on an entirely different level than most DreamWorks antagonists. She doesn't need armies, tragic backstories, or long speeches. She causes destruction because it amuses her. That alone makes her terrifying. What genuinely enhances Eris is her presence. Each time she is on screen, she asserts her dominance. Her design, voice, and body language radiate confidence. She toys with Sinbad, manipulates events effortlessly, and treats human lives like pieces on a board. She's never desperate, never rushed, because she knows she's untouchable. Unlike many villains, Eris doesn't pretend to be misunderstood or morally justified. She's honest about who she is, and that honesty makes her even more compelling. She represents temptation, selfishness, and chaos, directly challenging Sinbad's growth as a character. Her only drawback is the movie itself being underrated, which causes people to overlook her. But make no mistake, Eris is one of DreamWorks' most powerful, charismatic, and unapologetically evil villains ever. Absolute GOAT tier energy. Ramesses II, the Prince of Egypt. Next we have Ramesses II. He is one of the most human villains DreamWorks has ever written. He is evil by nature. He's shaped by expectation, fear, and legacy. Raised to believe strength is the only way to rule, Ramesses clings to power even as it destroys everything he loves. What makes Ramesses unforgettable is his relationship with Moses. This isn't hero versus villain, it's brother versus brother. Their emotional history adds layers to every confrontation. You feel the pain in Ramesses' decisions, especially when pride prevents him from letting go. His descent is gradual and heartbreaking. Each plague is a punishment. It's a test he fails because he cannot abandon the image of the king he's supposed to be. The moment he finally breaks is devastating, not triumphant. Ramesses proves that the most powerful villains aren't monsters. They're people who refuse to change. His emotional depth, tragic arc, and operatic scale place him firmly among the greatest animated antagonists of all time. Death the Wolf. Puss in Boots, The Last Wish. Last but not the least, in ranking, we have Death. He is easily one of the most chilling villains DreamWorks has ever created. He doesn't threaten, he doesn't shout, he simply exists, and that's enough. From his first whistle, you know something is wrong. This is a character, Puss, who can outfight or outsmart. What makes Death exceptional is what he represents. He is after power or revenge, he's enforcing a rule. Puss wasted his lives, treated immortality like a joke, and now Death is there to collect. That concept alone adds insane thematic weight. Every encounter between Death and Puss is tense, intimate, and terrifying. He doesn't rush the kill, he waits, he watches. And that psychological pressure is far scarier than any army or monster. Unlike most villains, Death doesn't lose because he's defeated. He leaves because Puss finally learns to value life. That makes him feel eternal, symbolic, inevitable. He's not just a villain, he's an idea. And that's why he nearly takes the top spot. Lord Shen, Kung Fu Panda 2. And finally, number 1 is Lord Shen. He is the complete package. He's intelligent, ruthless, emotionally complex, and deeply personal to the hero. His actions aren't evil, they're traumatic. He commits genocide out of fear, and that single decision shapes both his destiny and Poe's. What makes Shen perfect is how closely his arc mirrors Poe's. Both are defined by their past, but while Poe learns to accept and heal, Shen refuses to let go. His obsession with control, prophecy, and destiny slowly consumes him. Shen is intimidating without being overpowered. His weaponized intelligence, political control, and emotional detachment make him incredibly dangerous. And unlike many villains, his theme, design, and dialogue are immaculate. Every scene feels deliberate. Every action has consequences. Shen doesn't just challenge Poe physically, he challenges him philosophically. This is how you write a villain. And that's all. Some villains were straight up menaces and others were just there, doing their best, I guess. So, which DreamWorks villain do you think was robbed? Or did I rank your favorite way too low? Let us know in the comments, and if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe and click the next video on your screen.